So in that last video, I was talking about nature, the beauty, the pleasantry of walking out and experiencing something new, fresh. I love that word. It's a good one. It feels fresh. But now I'm home. This is where I can relax, right? This is my bed is kind of back up there. This is where my food is. This is where my bathroom is. This is where I can wash and clean and relax. And on the one hand, yes, it's very nice to go out and experience the new and unknown. And on the other hand, it's equally nice to have this kind of place to unwind. It's and I know you know what home is. I sure hope you do, because I suppose some people don't. But there's something to say for there's so much to appreciate about it that you kind of ignore when you get so comfortable in something. It's that desensitization, right? It's that hedonic treadmill. I love that phrase, by the way. Hedonic treadmill, if you don't know, is this idea that so we're as human beings are pleasure seekers. We chase things that excite us, that pleasure us, but once we reach them, they stop exciting us. So suddenly that carrot is no longer dangling in front of us, the carrot on the stick, and we need to find a new one. So we fuck off and we go learn about something new that we want to explore, and then we start chasing that new pleasure. And we do this on the large scale when it comes to careers, family. We do this on a small scale too when it comes to scrolling through Twitter, YouTube, video games, all over the place. So why'd I bring up hedonic treadmill? I totally lost my train of thought, because I was talking about home and desensitization to the pleasantries, the pleasantness of what you have available to you. And, sure, I'd say it's always nice to take time to appreciate what you have, for sure. But obviously, you're not going to do that at all moments, at all the time, every day, because there's a reason these things become desensitized, because your attention is more valuable elsewhere. But still, right now, maybe take a moment to, pay respects to the fact that you've got a place to go and relax. At least that's what I'm doing. But in balance, my last video I was talking about exploring nature, which is this kind of new and unknown, and the home is this kind of known and it's there for you, it's ready for you. And I really like that idea of balance between the two. This is an idea that goes back. It's certainly not original. I mean, it's probably thousands of years old, this idea of balance. I mean, I wear it around my neck, but if you live too deep on one end of that spectrum, if you live too deep into the chaotic natural world of the unknown, you get lost, you get stuck, you don't have a place of comfort, you don't have a place to recharge, you don't have the place to sit back and expand your mind, rather than having to, I suppose, I'm thinking in the framework of, well, you're in the unknown, so you need to concentrate, you need to focus, you need to navigate, and that requires a kind of a concentration of the mind, which you can't maintain constantly. Whereas when you're home, you get a moment to relax. And I suppose in nature, you also get a moment to relax. Maybe this metaphor is kind of falling apart. I suppose I'm trying to use it as an allegory, the word I'm looking for. Sure, allegory. Fucking know, who knows what that means? For how it's useful to balance yourself out. Because if you spend all day, all the time at home, working perhaps. Oh, shit, check this out. Hold on. This was my last video. I was talking about having a little spider on a leaf. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. He's going at it. He's got this whole spider web. Oh, he's going. You see him? I don't know if you can see him. He's got that leaf. And he's got this. He's using it as a weight, as an anchor. Spiders figure that out. That tiny little brain, that little freak, they've got some engineering packed in there. It's just amazing. I'm a fan. All right. I got distracted. I was talking about balance. So, I suppose it's different. So maybe when I'm home, before I had kind of figured this out, I would sit in the basement and work. And when I wasn't working, I was telling myself I needed to work. And it was just constantly ringing me out. I'd work so hard that I just couldn't take it. My body would kind of break. That's super dramatic. But I'd sit down and I'd watch Netflix all day, every day for 3 days in a row just to recharge, because I worked so much. And suddenly it just felt like I was drained and I couldn't do anything else but consume. So maybe that's a better example of concentration. And when you're out in the woods, especially in something comfortable and fresh and new, where I got to explore with some friends earlier today. Nice, pleasant, open. You get to unwind. You get to, rather than concentrate, you get to relax. And that idea, especially when it comes to the brain, of concentration and relaxation is really powerful when it comes to your ability to think. And I learned this from Barbara Oakley's Learning How to Learn class on Coursera or Udacity. I think it was Coursera. Fantastic, by the way, highly recommended. But the idea is that inside of your brain, especially when you're coming up with ideas or when you're learning, right? You can imagine your brain is kind of like this pinball machine, all right? And like, imagine my fingers are these little pegs on the pinball machine, all right? And so like, when you got an idea and your brain is concentrated, all right, you can imagine the ball doesn't really have much room to travel. It can bounce from here. Oh, can I do this? It can bounce from like my index finger to the thumb, back and forth to this ring finger. It's got a very small grouping. It's very tight. There's not a lot of free range, but it's fast. So you get to, if the ball that's bouncing around this pinball machine is in the right place, you very quickly get to, analyze the data that you need to and figure out how to solve the problems that you have. All right. Now imagine it's relaxed, and imagine instead of these 5 fingers, you've got like a whole mess of them around, because I can't fucking demonstrate this with one hand. So the idea is, when your brain is relaxed, your pinball of attention, I should say, I think that's a good example, isn't going to just, stay in the same tight grouping. It's going to kind of move. It's going to bounce from, up here. It's going to move down to the corner, up into the left. It's going to find its own path. It's going to wander its own way through the system. And that allows your attention to find ideas that you otherwise would not relate to the original concept that you were thinking about. And you wouldn't be able to do that if you stayed in a concentrated state, because your mind would never have the freedom to explore these ideas that you get to touch on when you're not concentrating. So that balance of taking time to concentrate and time to relax, and is beyond. It's magnificent. And when I started packaging that into my life, I noticed, I felt more comfortable, just all across the board, more comfortable. And I think that's a great sign. Not in a comfort kind of like, well, I'm not doing enough, so I should be like working harder kind of comfort. That's this feeling that I used to get, and I feel, often enough to be a problem. It's this comfort, like I'm doing what I need to do, right? And what I think the way that played out is like, I had this time to explore ideas on my own, right? And in that time of relaxation, my mind was working for me to solve the problems that I already had, rather than thinking, all right, telling myself I was working hard, so I was working on the problems that I needed to solve. When I was doing that, I wasn't really. It was just the voice in my head was saying, you're doing good, keep it up, don't stop. But the truth is, it just wasn't being kind to myself, wasn't being optimal. It was generally poorer. So, and so that active balance of concentration, relaxation, of focus, and sit back. It plays itself out on a couple different scales. First of all, I do it across the day. Like I wake up in the morning, I enjoy a cup of coffee because I love it. And then, like maybe I'll sit down and I'll do some work for a couple hours. And when I feel myself getting tired and failing to concentrate, it takes, an hour or two. Sometimes I just can't get into it at all at the start. I'll take, I call it 5-minute break. Sometimes it's 25. Sometimes it's an hour and a half. Fuck it. Don't relax. It'll be fine. And then by the end of that hour and a half, I just allow myself to do what I want to. But I understand that I'm going to come back. I trust myself to get back to work when I need to. So an hour and a half passes, and it's like, all right, well, now I'm interested in the project that I'm working on. Now I'm interested in solving these homework assignments. Man, now I'm like, I want to explore this curiosity I have with like my new model that I'm building. So and then I get back into it, and it's like these alternating periods throughout the day of concentration and relaxation. But then you have it throughout the week. You have that other scale where maybe some days you spend more times even more concentrated. Maybe there are some days entirely where like I've had days where I just put in a 12-hour day without thinking about it, of just work. I got up to use the bathroom, make some food, took like an hour break, but I was working all day. And then other days where like I can't think. Like it's not the time to think. It's time to chill. It's time to go like play Rocket League all day, or just like unwind with a show that I've been waiting to watch. So and that plays out over the year too, where you've got like some months where it's like, well, I've got something I need to do. Semesters are a great example, right? So you've got like a semester where like you're on and on and on throughout the course of like 16 weeks until bam, you get winter break. You get to chill out. You get to relax for a couple weeks. That's a nice little break. And then you're back on. So I don't know. I love that scale of like in and out, like tension and release. That's a concept in music theory that I think is brilliant, especially when applied to this, because tension and release, music applies itself over time, right? Like the art of music is something that takes advantage of time, right? It shows you what happens when you have expectations, like when you have like a rhythm. All right, you know when the next beat is going to be, and you get to use that as your railway, like your guiding lines, and then suddenly you get to. But still, the melody might play tricks with you. It might, like the bass drops on a freaking on a beat you wouldn't expect. It's like all these ideas in music are tension released through times at the same kind of concentric scales. It's lovely. So if that's valuable to you, think about it. Maybe that's something worth applying, because I certainly spent too much time concentrated. So, and it's better to alternate. It's just better. Anyways, that's it for this one. Hey, peace.